Hello, everybody. I am Jennings King from Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm a member of the Photo Managers, and I am thrilled to welcome you to this session today, Save Your Photos Month. In the first two sessions, we learned how to preserve your printed photos and how to digitize your collection. If you missed them, be sure to check out the Save Your Photos Month playlist later on. Today, we're going to focus on organizing your digital photos so that your memories stay safe and accessible even in an emergency. Digital photos can easily get lost in a sea of devices, cloud accounts, and external hard drives. Amanda LittleCott will share best practices for organizing your digital files and protecting them from disasters, whether it's through cloud storage, external hard drives, or smart backup systems. If you haven't yet, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss any of these free sessions this month. And if you haven't already, be sure to register for Save Your Photos Month to get reminder emails for all remaining sessions. It is free, y'all. Today's session is called Organizing Your Digital Photos for Disaster Preparedness, Best Practices for Safe Storage. Amanda LittleCott has been a member of the Photo Managers since 2020 and is a certified photo manager. She is UK-based photo and digital organizing specialist who helps people sort through the chaos, protect their memories, and make their photos easy to share and enjoy. Amanda will guide us through organizing your digital photos, choosing right storage solutions, and safeguarding your collection from disasters so your memories are always secure. Type your questions in the chat. We will collect your questions throughout the presentation, and Amanda will answer them during our Q&A at the end. So important, y'all. Without further ado, let's welcome Amanda LittleCott to guide us through best practices for digital photo organization. Take it away, Amanda.
Thank you so much. It's so great to see you, and hello everyone. So welcome to our Organising Digital Photos for Disaster Preparedness. So as you've already said, I am Amanda LittleCott, aka the Photo Organiser, and I love helping people bring order to their photo chaos so they can actually enjoy their memories. So welcome to Organising Digital Photos for Disaster Preparedness. However, before we talk about your digital preparedness, I wanted to share just a little bit more about me in the form of some lovely photos, of course. So I am a runner by day. I am not a fast runner. I am most definitely not a competitive runner, but I am all about the medal. I am the person who woke up at 3 a.m. the day after the Photo Managers Conference party to go and run around Disney's Epcot to get a medal with Buzz Lightyear and some spinning aliens on it. Yes. And I'm a gig goer by night. I am more kind of rock Foo Fighters than Taylor Swift. However, in the last few years, I have gone to go and see the most amazing Rick Astley. Yes, never going to give you up. He does an amazing gig. I can highly recommend good old Rick Astley. And as we've already said, I am a photo organizer in between. I've been running my photo organizing business over here in the UK for the last 5 years. And being a photo organizer, I understand the challenges we all have with our photos. So I'm excited today to talk about something we don't often want to think about, protecting our photos from disasters. Photos are supposed to bring joy and a connection, not panic and regret when that hard drive suddenly fails. It's all about making sure your digital memories are organized, protected, and ready to survive whatever life throws at them. If you've ever thought, okay, I'm going to back everything up tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes, and then you have that heart-stopping moment when you see your phone slowly slip into the sink of water. You're in exactly the right place. So I'm excited to talk about something. So disasters aren't always, totally dramatic. So when it comes to disaster preparedness, we need to consider all the different things that could be considered a disaster. We've got things like hardware, because let's just face it, hardware is guaranteed to fail. It's just a question of, well, when. Every hard drive has its lifespan. Your computers, that can be considered a hard drive. And on average, 20% of external hard drives fail within just 3 years. Also, laptops get dropped. Phones, well, yes, they can go swimming. And the devices rarely warn you about this first. Then we've got things like human error. It's still the #1 cause of data loss. You delete the wrong folder, you overwrite the wrong file, or you just forget to transfer photos before you upgrade your phone or computer. And then add into the mix this syncing services, which can make the mistakes even worse. You delete from one place, it goes from everywhere. Then we've got things like environmental risks, which are becoming more common. We all hear about wildfires and floods that are on the news, but things like burst pipes, power surges, mold, heat damage, all of these can affect your drives in your house. And then you've just got, well, I dropped the coffee on my laptop disaster as well. Things like theft and loss are everyday disasters. Phones and laptops are the most stolen personal items. And if you think about it, if your device vanishes, would your photos vanish too? Not good. If we think about it, memories are often more valuable than the device itself. I mean, seriously, you could replace your laptop tomorrow. You could buy it on Amazon or wherever you want. You could get it delivered next day, but you can't recreate your child's first day at school or that precious family wedding. Backups are about protecting the irreplaceable, not necessarily the hardware. But before we go and talk about protecting those photos, we need to make sure that what we're actually protecting is kind of in good shape. And this matters because backups work best when you're protecting something tidy. There is no point in paying for a backup to back up stuff that you really don't want to keep. It's just money sense. But also, if your library is scattered, full of duplicates, and just badly named, then you're just going to be backing up that absolute mess. Organizing it first makes your backups, well, smaller, faster, and just easy to restore. And you know that you're actually backing up everything. So let's have a look at some of my top tips on how to get yourself sorted first. The first thing is to gather everything all in one place. So make yourself a master library. Think of it like a home base for your photos, whether it's your computer's picture file folder, an external hard drive, or a cloud service, which we're going to talk about later. But basically avoid spreading files across multiple devices. Think like phones, memory cards, all those old USB sticks, and random folders. It's really hard to work out what you've actually backed up. And also, I would really recommend creating like an inbox folder for new imports. So you can just dump it there and then you know that nothing gets lost before you can beautifully file it and sort it. It's like moving everything into the house before you lock the doors. You don't leave your phone in your car and your computer in your garage. You want to put everything in your house and then lock it up. Photos, are scattered. You'll never know what you actually protected. Then we need to think about some simple, durable folder structures. So keep folder and album names short, clear, and really obvious. I would recommend going for year and month. So 2015, 10, Jenny's wedding. Always do numbers and not written, so that when you then sort it alphabetically, it kind of sorts it in the right order. So if you put 2015 April in words and then 2015 August in words, August and April would be next door to each other. Not very helpful. Also, you could use subfolders or sections for big collections, so ceremony, reception, funny moments, but avoid like really deep, fussy hierarchies. Future you won't remember them. It will just be a disaster. And also, just think about it. Could someone else step into your system tomorrow and could they find the holiday from last year? Just keep it simple. And we've talked about this. The next thing is about removing those kind of duplicates and clutter. We need to get rid of stuff that we don't want. You might have a built-in tool in the photo organizing software you're using, but I have some of my favorite deduplication tools. I love Photosweeper for Mac and Duplicate Cleaner Pro for the PC. They are amazing. Basically, you can kind of scan it and then you can look for exact duplicates. So is it exactly the same date and time? Maybe you copy something onto a USB stick and you want to make sure that you've actually got all of that stuff. But also it can do near duplicates. So remember that time when you took like 5 photos to try and get everyone with their eyes open and everyone looking in the right direction? Well, only keep the one that is actually everyone looking vaguely in the right direction and maybe everyone's got their eyes open. You don't need to keep all of them. And these tools can actually find those near duplicates as well. So it saves space, but it means that your catalogue doesn't balloon with unnecessary copies. Then, if you want to, you can add some basic metadata for findability. Quick thing. So metadata is all this lovely data that sits behind all of your digital files. Gives you things like dates it was taken, camera information, location information. But you can also use it to like tag things. So you can tag people. Maybe I would just start with like your closest circle. So family members, pets, and maybe some like key friends. You could also add some like simple keywords like family, travel, home, insurance if you're doing documents, things like that, just to make it easier to find. You can caption and highlight photos or important scans, so mum's 70th birthday, so you can find it really easy. Essentially, metadata survives across platforms, so this is like your insurance policy for the future. But also, we've talked about folder names, but we also need to think about file names and some formats as well, because we need to make sure that we're future-proofing what you do. So please stick to plain characters. No funky emojis, no exclamation marks, no question marks. Even think about what dashes you're using, because some of this stuff doesn't necessarily play well going across different formats, and also sometimes backups don't like them either. Also use descriptive names where it matters. So 2024, 09, 15, and then you could put the word birthday so that it's really easy to find. And then Amanda. Yes, very important. Also, save them in widely supported formats like JPEG for digital files or TIFF. Try and avoid using like rare or proprietary formats that you need specific software for, because it will be okay for you if you've got the software, but if you're sharing that with someone else, then they need to get the software to be opening it up, and that's not going to work from a sharing point of view. And then finally, document your system. Very important. So write down your structure and your conventions. So structure, like where it's stored. Is it in a master library? Is it in, the photos folder? Just make it really clear. And then also your folders kind of by year, month, event, just so people know how to search your catalogue. And any keywords, so family, travel, things like that. And then keep this note with your photo emergency plan. We'll talk about that later. It just makes it easier for others, or future you, to continue the system if needed. Basically, we now have one clear, organized master library. So our next step is thinking, well, how are we going to protect it? And for protection, most people think, well, backing up. It's that simple. But in the world of backing up, there are some common misunderstandings of what exactly a true backup is. It is a separate, independent copy of your files. But with things like cloud services, there are syncing services, which just makes it even more complicated. So what is the difference between a syncing service and a backup service? Well, when we think about syncing versus backup, I like to think about it in kind of roads. So backup is a one-way street. Files flow in one direction from your main device to a safe copy. If you delete a photo from your laptop by accident, the backup doesn't delete it. It stays safe. The protection you need is this for when disaster strikes. However, we also have some services that do syncing. So, syncing is what's called a two-way street. What happens on one side happens on the other. And so, therefore, you take a photo on your phone, it appears on the cloud. Delete a photo from your phone, well, it deletes it from the cloud. So, it's great for keeping devices matching, but terrible if you make a mistake. So, what does what? Dropbox and OneDrive are backup services. From your phone, they will back up your photos and keep them safe and sound in the cloud. And Apple Photos and Google Photos are syncing services. So they are not actually classed as a backup. They are not. If you delete it from one, you delete it from everywhere. If I went to your Apple phone, deleted all of your photos, and then went and emptied your trash bin, they would be gone. You wouldn't be able to restore them. You need an air gap. You need to make sure that things are recoverable. So we know what a true backup really is and, how it's different from a sync. But are you still wondering, how many backups do I actually need? And, where should they live? This is where the magic 3-2-1 rule comes in. It's a simple formula, takes out the guesswork, and makes sure everything is safe. You need 3 copies of your photos at any one time. And in fact, you can use this backup approach for all of your data as well. So you need 3 copies across 2 different types of media or storage type. So cloud and an external hard drive. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. And you need 1 off-site, so not in the drawer of your office. If we think about it in the form of spare keys, you wouldn't keep your spare keys on the same ring because if you lose one, well, you're going to lose the other. So it's just like keeping your backup in the same place. One thing disappears, more likely the other one does too. So backup offsite your spare keys, so give it to a friend. So I would give my spare keys to my downstairs neighbour for when I lose my keys and leave them on the train. I mean, no one would need that, would they? But yes, think about your backup like your spare keys. So we've learned our 3-2-1 backup rule, 3 copies, 2 different types of storage, and 1 offsite. But how do you actually make it happen in real life? It's like packing for a big trip. I mean, today I'm sharing all the tips. I'm going to give you some travel tips. It's like, don't put everything into one suitcase and hope the airline doesn't lose it. It's about spreading things out, some in your hand luggage, some in your checked bag, maybe even a spare charger in your pocket, so no single mishap ruins your whole journey. Backups work exactly the same way. The goal is to spread the risk across different places and formats. One fails, the others are still there to keep your memories safe. And in the world of backup, our most common suitcases are the cloud and external hard drives. These are the formats that I was talking about in the number 2 of the 3-2-1 approach. And they have their own strengths and their weaknesses as well. First, we've got cloud backup. So this is the likes of Amazon and Google and OneDrive. And basically the pros is, well, they're offsite by default. So you don't have to worry about your offsite. And they work anywhere with the internet. And they're good for access across devices. So we've talked about kind of the syncing approach, but these you can then access the backup or your offsite backup as well as, and it will stay safe. The cons, well, there's the ongoing cost. Unfortunately, nothing in life when it comes to our photos is free. So you are going to have to pay for all of your stuff, which is why it's really important to make sure you're only backing up what you really want. And then you also might have a challenge around upload speed. So if you have a lot of photos initially when you back up all of this stuff, you might be strangled by your internet speed, or if you're traveling, so that can cause you a problem. Then also we've got things like privacy considerations. So lots of people are worried about the fact that you are sharing quite a lot of your life with someone else. As I said before, some examples are like OneDrive, Amazon Photos, Dropbox, and they're really simple to set up. On your phone, you just download the app, you go to the settings and you kind of set it up to camera upload. Just make sure that you are uploading full resolution and not any kind of storage saver. Then you can set it up to upload over Wi-Fi only, or Wi-Fi and mobile data, and maybe if you travel a lot and you're okay with data. Then once everything is backed up, verify like the next day or when it's finished by logging into the service on a different device to make sure that it's all working. Then we've got external hard drives. So the pros when it comes to these is it's a one-off cost. You buy it and you don't have to keep paying. And the recovery is fast. Essentially, get drive, recover files. And you don't need any internet if you're backing up stuff that's local to your computer. The cons is, as we've already said, they can fail. 20% fail after 3 years. And actually we say drives only really last 3 to 5 years. So if you've got that drive that's 10 years old, probably time to buy a new one. And it's not always automatic. The backup, depending on the tools and how you've set it up, you might actually have to plug in the drive and remember to plug it in, and then remember to do the backup. And that means potentially you won't do it. And they're still vulnerable to disasters if left at home. You can drop it. You could, leave it in a humidity area so that it just fails. And you basically are the IT service to try and fix that. So the best practice when it comes to these little wonderful devices is always label them with the purchase date to keep track of how old that lovely drive is, and format them to the ecosystem or the type of computer that you're using. So if you're using Apple, you can use Apple Journaled or APFS. Or if you're doing Windows or a Windows PC, the best thing to do is NTFS. Or if you need the drive to go across formats, go for exFAT. Not quite as secure as stable, but just, pick the right one and write the format on it. Because there's nothing worse than taking a drive, plugging it into a computer and thinking, oh my God, it's blank or there's nothing there, because actually that drive doesn't work with that computer. And make sure you store it in a stable temperature environment. So low humidity, make sure that it's in a drawer away from leaks. But actually, the best is a combination of both for maximum safety. So you could do your master library on your computer or an external hard drive if it's that big. Then you could have an external drive running scheduled local backups. Then your third option could be a cloud backup running continuously in the background, or a second external hard drive that you keep offsite and then you update monthly. So far, we've covered what a true backup looks like and all the different methods you can use. So many. But even with the best setup, it only works if, well, to be honest, you maintain it. A hard drive not updated for 6 months, well, that's not very useful. And a cloud account you never checked, equally not very useful. So these are not going to help you when things go wrong. So the next thing is to kind of build a routine, some simple habits and little automations to keep your backups alive without the need for constantly keeping it in your brain. Because as far as I'm concerned, my brain is on a one in, one out situation. I can't remember these things. I need to make sure that I do it. It's a bit like brushing your teeth. It takes just a few minutes, but skipping it for too long leads to, well, bigger problems later and probably a hefty bill as well. So, what should your routine really cover? We need to think about automating it so we don't forget, because in the nicest way, we're not going to remember. So turn on automatic phone uploads and make sure, as I've mentioned before, it's not in storage saver mode. Nah, that's not what we want. And also schedule backups. So if you're using Time Machine or kind of file history, just make sure you're scheduled, maybe do it daily, and make sure the drive is actually connected. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. So use backup software that runs without you having to remember is the best option. But if you don't want to do that, maybe put a monthly calendar reminder titled like photo safety check, 15 minutes, just so that you don't forget to do it. And for those drives that you've backed up, rotate the offsite drives in a rhythm that you can keep. So if you're doing 2 drives and you're taking one, you're putting it offsite, maybe once a month, bring that offsite home, run it on a backup, and then swap it with the home one, and then send the home one back offsite. Then you just take the updated drive and start using it. Then keep your offsite truly offsite. So a workplace drawer, a trusted relative, a safety deposit box. Offsite with someone who won't accidentally use it. That's very important. You don't want them to go over your backup. Make sure you've labeled it as like, please do not use, and that they know where it is. Then what you also need to do is to do a mini restore test so you know how everything works. I recommend doing this once a quarter. So go in, restore 5 random photos from each backup. And when I say each backup, I mean each backup. So go in and accidentally delete the files. Then go to the version history or the backup, not the recently deleted, because, well, recently deleted doesn't stay there for a while. So we need to make sure that our backup and our version history is going to restore it. Open it up once you've restored it and make sure everything is intact. Does it have the correct dates? Does it have the right metadata? Does it look okay? Does it have the right captions? What you need to do is you need to make sure that it is exactly the same. A tested backup means that you can recover from your own mistakes, not just disasters. And most of all, we need to make sure it's secure but accessible so that you can act fast in emergency. So we need to make sure that we're using strong, unique passwords. I am a big fan of a password manager because you only need to remember one strong password, and also you can then access it. Other people can access it as well. So it means that all of your passwords don't need to stay in your head. But also turn on multi-factor authentication on every cloud account. And note those recovery methods. If they give you a load of codes, make sure you save those in a secure place as well. If you're storing drives with sensitive personal images, use encryption to make sure that no one can get your stuff. Then keep a sealed emergency envelope or secure digital note in your trusty password manager of like where your photos live and who can help. But we're going to talk about that emergency plan in a minute. But even with a backup system in place, there's always some kind of nagging questions that people always think about. It's like, how do I keep track of all those copies? Or is the cloud like really safe? Where is my data actually being stored? I hear these all the time and they are completely valid. Backing up is not just about creating copies. It's about making sure everything is reliable, secure, and accessible years from now. You know who gets it. So to cover off some of the most common concerns people have about backup, and let's have a look at them and how to deal with them as well. The first one, how do I keep track of where everything is? I mean, I get it. People lose track of which drive is doing what cloud account has the latest copy. The best way to do it is to have just a simple photo backup map. Just list every backup location, then the last date that it was updated, and how you can access it. You could print a copy and put it in a secure folder. You could take a digital copy and put it in your password manager as well. Another question is, well, how secure is my backup, especially like if it's in the cloud? Because we all hear about data breaches, unauthorized access, or misuse. Recent survey said that 80% of people express concerns about how their data is handled in the cloud, especially with all this AI stuff that's going on. So, some important considerations is to think about: choose a reputable backup provider. If it's really cheap, or even free, steer clear. Just have a look at the reviews, make sure it's a name that you really trust. And also look for things like strong encryption. So they should be talking about things like AES 256. So that is a really strong encryption. If they're not talking about encryption, you need to steer clear. And as I've said before, enable multi-factor authentication. So when you log into your account, you sometimes get a text message, or you might need to go to another app and give them a number. That's the type of thing I'm talking about. And to be honest, you should be doing that on all your online accounts. So things like Instagram and Facebook, make sure you've got that set up as well. And understand who, if anyone, can access your data. Another thing that people kind of think about from a backup point of view is, how long will my backups be stored? Like, how far back can I restore? There is nothing worse than finding that the file that you only open up kind of quarterly or save a different version has vanished because it kind of fell outside your backup retention periods. To avoid this, make sure that you are 100% clear of your backup services retention policies. Usually for kind of cloud services, they will have different pricing bands for different retentions. It could be 90 days or a year. Just make sure that you read those terms before you sign up. And test that versioning, which we've already discussed. And also, is my backup really safe in another country? I mean, data centers are all over the world, and some cloud providers will store your data overseas. Maybe you're worried about data privacy laws or surveillance, or just, instability. Best thing to do is to check where your provider's data centers are. Most trusted people should say in their FAQs where your data is going to be. You can actually pick actual kind of users that will only put your data in particular areas. So I use one that particularly keeps its data in Europe because, well, I'm in Europe. You can choose a provider with locations that you're comfortable with, whether legally or politically. Just have a think. And for highly sensitive images, make sure that you're using end-to-end encryption before you load it up. So that means it's encrypted, it goes through the wire to their cloud service, still encrypted. But the ultimate question is, will my backup remain accessible in the long term? So data obsolescence. And this is a really important one. What we need to do is we make sure that formats or storage of media, they can become unreadable over time. Who remembers the floppy disk? I do. Who remembers the CD disk? No computer has a CD drive on it anymore. And if you do, you probably need to buy a new computer. And then there's just all these obscure file formats as well. So combat this by migrating files to current formats when and if you see that they're becoming obsolete. Use reliable, widely supported media, and review your full library maybe every few years to make sure that they're up to date and do conversions. One of my best tips is that actually you don't need to spend a fortune to convert some of this stuff. There's a lovely tool called VLC Media Player that is free, that you download to your computer, and then you can use it to convert old weird formats of video files into MP4s. Really simple. So you've seen how to back up and protect your photos in all sorts of ways. But the truth is, when a crisis happens, you don't want to be fumbling around trying to remember, like, where everything is, which drive is the latest. No. We need a photo emergency plan. This is your instruction sheet for future you or a family member who might need to step in. Doesn't need to be fancy, it just needs to exist. so that when disaster strikes, clarity and speed make all the difference. What needs to be on it? This is a very important thing. In our little one pager, what we need to do is we need to have the master library. Where does it live? The exact file location. So not just, oh, it's in my photos folder. You need to do it's in C drive, photos folder, Amanda's master file. So make it super clear. And then list your backup locations. So is it Time Machine? Is it like cloud accounts? Is it offsite at your mum's? And then add any access details. So who is your password manager? Who has emergency access? What are the recovery codes or their locations? And who else can access them in emergency? Who is your emergency contact? Think about it. If you've put an emergency contact in your phone, you need an emergency contact for your photos. And then keep this all in a secure place and let a trusted person know that it exists. But one of the most important things is to also think about a 3-step, if something happens, script to help future you. So first thing, put a note, restore internet or find a hotspot. Step 2, log into the cloud, confirm last sync. Step 3, fetch offsite if needed. Sometimes just those things can leave your brain if you're not careful. So we've covered like the core routines to keeping your photo library safe. And life isn't always that tidy. I mean, you could be traveling, we were thinking about legacy, or we might have printed photos, which I know was talked about last week. So not everything fits neatly into an everyday routine. So I just wanted to cover off a few extra kind of practical tips for special situations. First one, traveling. Now, if you are off traveling, making some beautiful memories and some beautiful photos, what we do need to do is make sure that all of that stuff is safe. So each night, plug your phone into the power, make sure on the Wi-Fi, and open that auto upload app that you're using and verify that all the photos are appearing. You could go onto another device. But what do you do if you don't have Wi-Fi? Not every country has particularly stable Wi-Fi, or maybe you don't want to go onto the slightly dodgy hotel Wi-Fi. What you can do, you can copy those photos to a computer if you want to carry that around, or an external hard drive. There are some external hard drives out there that actually have their own little Wi-Fi signal. So you can switch on that little Wi-Fi signal and you can send your photos from your phone directly to your hard drive. Brilliant. What about things like family sharing and making sure that your inheritance ready? So what you need to do is make sure you share copies with trusted relatives in different locations. I would recommend sharing copies and not your masters, and make sure the access is view only. So maybe you can have like a family archive view only section, just so that you're creating legacy access so that you can make sure that all your lovely memories are still accessible for everyone. And lastly, well, we need to talk about printed photos and scans. I had to quickly mention them because if you're digitizing your photos, you need to think about it as part of your disaster recovery plan. So prioritize scanning irreplaceable prints first. So weddings, early childhood, old, black and white photos. And store those finished scans straight in your master library so they enter into the same backup flow immediately. And add any years or appropriate decades so it can slot into your timeline eventually. But essentially, you've now got a digital backup of those precious moments. So there you have it. I've covered the essentials of protecting your digital photos. What a true backup really is, the 3-2-1 rule, building a routine that keeps your memories safe for the long run. Just remember, backup is about reducing the risk, not eliminating it and just thinking it will be fine. So I hope you've come away with a few clear steps, a few aha moments, and the reassurance that success with backups doesn't mean doing everything at once. Just remember, you don't need to get perfect straight away. Just some small, set up one cloud account, label one drive, test one restore. Success is about progress. Every extra copy you make is one step closer to keeping your precious memories safe. So thanks for having me. I hope I leave you feel confident, calm, and ready to succeed in protecting your photos. But if today's talk has got you thinking, right, Amanda, I really need to do something with these photos, you can start in various ways. So you can grab the handout that's going to be appearing in the bottom of the description. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Amanda LIttlecott, the Photo Organiser, for friendly, bite-sized videos on all things photo organised, but also the Photo Managers channel for more advice from us lovely pros. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can go to my Photo Mess Success courses, which are perfect to get your entire collection sorted step by step. Thank you for having me. Have fun rediscovering your memories. Now I think we are going to open it up to some lovely questions.
Amanda, great job. My brain is blowing up with all the information. So I know everybody else's is. Great
It's a
stuff.
lot of information in a short period
But
of time.
before we get to the Q&A, I did want to tell everybody about a virtual event, the Memory Keepers Live Summit. It is Saturday, September 27th. It's a one-day virtual event, perfect for anyone who wants to preserve, organize, and protect their photos and documents. It is a hands-on workshop for digital photos and emergency preparedness. There will be networking, prizes, downloadable resources, and you'll get the recordings. I've been to one of these and it's phenomenal. Highly recommend. And the best part about it is 10% of the proceeds go to the Weather Resilience Fund supporting disaster photo recovery. So reserve your spot today. The registration link is pinned in the chat and in the description. Okay, are you guys ready? Let's answer some questions. Okay, who's first? Chantil says, when adding metadata, is it possible to add the same information, say subject, tags, comments, to more than one photo at a time? Take it away.
Absolutely. So there's various tools that you can add kind of photo tags to. One of the simplest ways, and one of the tools that I talk about on my channel, is Adobe Bridge, which is free. Don't listen to anyone who says it's not free. As long as you've got an Adobe account, you can then add tags. So you can select more than one, and then you can add all those to, one photo. So you don't have to sit there and do one photo at a time. You can also do it in Windows Explorer. If you go to the information panel, go to the properties, and you can add tags that way by selecting multiple ones. So absolutely. There's also various other tools out there like Mylio that you can do it with. So yeah, pick your favorite tool and yes.
Okay, our next question is from Taylor. How much time should I be planning to complete processes like this, referring to the backup?
Oh, okay. So the backup obviously depends on how much stuff you've got, and it depends on your Wi-Fi. So sometimes if I'm doing client stuff, it can take a week sometimes for everything to back up to the cloud because they've got like terabytes worth of stuff. From setting up your backup process to finishing it, if that's the kind of the plan that you're thinking about, if it's backing up, it's more the time. So you just need to decide on what your process is going to be. So what are my 3 backups? What's my 3, 2, 1? Once you've done that, the actioning is mostly around plugging stuff in and waiting for it to copy over.
Okay, great. And our next question is from Hadron. What's the best way to ensure that in 30 years, descendants will be able to view photos? What's the best format conversion software?
Right. So it's like, who knows what formats we're going to be using in years to come. As I said, I remember CD discs were all the rage. And now nobody uses those at all. So what I would do, as I said, I would just make sure that what formats you're using. So things like JPEG and TIFF, they, RAW, they have, they have loads of, they've been around for a while. So therefore, those are probably the formats that you need to kind of aim for. From a conversion software, so you can use things like Lightroom, there's online tools. You can also use, actually, I've already mentioned it, I don't want to keep saying Adobe Bridge, but you can use Adobe Bridge. You can export files and change their format into like a JPEG or a TIFF. For videos, the tool that I talked about was VLC Player, where you can use that to convert some weird kind of MKV files or weird files that you've got into more usable MP4. But knowing what's going to be used in 30 years' time, unfortunately, I'd love to have a crystal ball and be able to tell you what we're going to be using in years' time. But it's just kind of thinking in your process, have I looked at to make sure that there's nothing that's obsolete? And, is everything working?
Okay. Next one from Helene. What is the app to transfer from VHS? And you just mentioned this.
So yeah, so the tool I talked about is if they're already digitized, you can use VLC to convert old digital formats. There is a tool that you can use on your computer, and it has escaped me. So if you put it in the comments below, I will answer when my brain remembers what the little tool is that you need to use. Left my brain.
It happens.
It'll probably come back in the next 5 minutes. So yeah.
Okay, guys, listen, if we did not get to your question, Amanda will be messaging you. So we just appreciate you all for joining. And remember, organizing your digital photos isn't just for convenience, it ensures your memories are safe, accessible, and protected from disasters. If you found today's tips helpful, which I did, give us a thumbs up and share in the chat which storage solution you plan to implement first. I hope everybody has a great day and save your photos. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, everyone.